Charlie Manuel brings his Philadelphia Phillies to town. The five-time defending Eastern Division champions aren't going to win the division this year, but lo and behold, they've come from way behind, and all of a sudden, they are contenders again. Standing in their way, though, the potential Cy Young Award winner. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join me in just a moment as the Mets begin their final homestand of the year, 10 games, starting with the first of 3 against the suddenly relevant Philadelphia Phillies. On the mound tonight for the Mets, R.A. Dickey, who has 4 starts left in his season, and tonight takes his second try at getting to win number 19.
You know, the thing about when you look at your ball club is you want consistency, right? And when you look at R.A. Dickey, really he has been the most consistent performer all season long. In his last start, he was on top of his game against the number 1 Washington Nationals. He had some good defense played behind him. But one of the things that you have to love about R.A. Dickey is that this has been a forgettable second half. The Mets had a hitter last year in Reyes who won the batting championship. They've got a guy this year who has a chance to win, of course, the Cy Young, and the attention to detail is great. Here picking up, making sure the wind is all right for the knuckleball. Cy Young is his to lose.
Now, Dickey got a lot of runs to work with early in the season, not so much lately, and he may not get much to work with today with Cliff Lee on the mound.
Well, I think that's going to be the problem. Can the Mets hit enough off Cliff Lee, who was 3-0 in his last 4 starts, and he's been where R.A. wants to go. 2008 Cy Young Award winner.
As for those Phillies, they went into Houston this past weekend, right within range of the National League's second wild card, but not a good weekend for the Phils down in Houston.
Well, they had a 7-game winning streak before they embarked on the beginning of that road trip in Houston, the 4 games. And what happened? They lost 3 out of 4. They left Philly 3 back in the wild card and very much in position with the lowly Astros. They lost with bad bullpen. They blew leads and defense, particularly at third base. They come back now 4 out. You see 4 teams in front of them. They've made it awful tough for themselves. Basically the same thing here. Can they come here and beat their rival, the Mets, and kind of hopefully get back into the wild card hunt?
Well, the Mets just finished in Milwaukee where the Brewers beat them 2 out of 3 to get to within 2.5 games of that wild card. Now the Phillies will try and do the same, but Dickey stands in their way. All the action on SNY. Honda is a Honda. By high-yield free checking from Capital One Bank. What's in your wallet? By Thompson's Water Seal, the most powerful protection against water damage, guaranteed. And by Hyundai. New Hyundai owners are talking about their cars in the booth. The Mets' 50th anniversary collector's set is a stunning 10-DVD celebration of Mets history, World Series films, season highlights, and celebrated games. Order your 10-DVD anniversary gift set at Mets.com. Here's your Mets' upcoming schedule, presented by Astoria Federal Savings. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. 10 games on this homestand, 3 with the Phillies, 3 with the Marlins, and then 4 with the Pirates, who are still in it in the National League wild card. Then the Mets make their final road trip of the year to Atlanta and to Miami. It's the Mets and the Phillies tonight on the first of 3 at Citi Field as R.A. Dickey takes another crack at win number 19. First pitch coming right up. For the Phillies, who have been hot with the bats. Jimmy Rollins having a great month of September. Carlos Ruiz has been in and out of the lineup because of a foot injury. He's in there tonight. John Mayberry swinging a hot bat as well. Kevin Francis has done a great job taking over at third base for the Phils as Dickey faces the Phillies for the 3rd time this year.
Well, these stats are presented to you by Caesars Atlantic City, and as you saw in the opening, first or second in all of these categories. Fine ERA. That's quite a mantle to have, something to put on your mantle to know you won the ERA title, but even more to get a Cy Young.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the Lexus Metropolitan defense, and Mike Nikias, how about that? Gets a start, and he was called up obviously in September, and this is his first start, and that goes back a long way. Torres has been the only guy in center field of late, the only guy that could play center field, so he's in there every day. Bay's out there in left, Hairston's in right, Duda at first base today.
Terry Collins said he had considered starting Kelly Shoppach behind the plate, but Shoppach has not caught Dickey in a game yet, and he just thinks the games are too important right now to risk that. So with a lefty on the mound for the Phillies, he goes with Nikias, who did a good job catching Dickey earlier in the year.
You can do a lot of experimentation, but certainly not right now. Charlie Manuel, like the Mets, in his 50th year of baseball.
Jimmy Rollins will lead things off. Rollins with 5 home runs in September already. Hitting a .252 for the year after a very difficult start. Rollins, Mayberry, and Utley for the Phillies, who just came from Houston, where they lost 3 of 4, losing some of the momentum that they built up over the last few weeks, getting back into the wild card race. Phillies were 10 games under 500 and 10.5 games out as recently as August 22nd. Now they're 4 back as Dickey's first knuckleball sails into the backstop for ball 1.
I missed you guys in Milwaukee, but Ricky Weeks I saw is making a great run for himself in his stats in September. So is Jimmy Rollins, right?
Very similar late season run for those two teams who've made up a lot of ground. Is Rollins 6 to 1 knee swinging at that knuckleball, and it's 1-1. Looks like Adrian Bell trying to hit one out of the park. We've got some extra seating tonight as they experiment with the seating they'll need for the All-Star game next year. The extra boxes for dignitaries. There's little enough room behind home plate as it is. Now there's even less.
I call those the Christy Brinkley seats. In 1986, that's where Christy Brinkley, and I know it was a big game, but you had to sneak a peek.
I was too focused on the games, Ronnie.
Please.
I didn't notice.
You are so single-minded. John Mayberry on deck, and then Chase Utley for the Phillies. Dickey ahead 1-2. And Rollins swings and misses, but it gets by Nickias, hits those new stands, and Rollins is safe at first. Well, welcome back, Mike Nickias. All right, Dickey's knuckleball dancing away, and the Phillies have a leadoff base runner.
Oh boy, it exit stage right on that one, right off his wrist too. Got him on the wrist.
Simple motion, takes that leg kick almost to a 45-degree angle towards the Philadelphia Phillies dugout, not towards the third base bag. Opens up that front foot and throws one that went both ways that time.
So it's a strikeout and a pass ball. Rollins, who has 30 stolen bases, is aboard. Here's John Mayberry, who's been tearing it up the last month. Over the last 27 games, hitting .347. He's become the everyday center fielder after the trade of Shane Victorino to the Dodgers.
Well, should be around the league, and certainly a player of Rollins' renown will know that R.A. Dickey has the best right-handed move in the National League, maybe all of baseball.
Dickey's given up only 2 stolen bases this year, only 1 steal of second. And that one floats inside for ball 1, and R.A. has a lot of movement on that pitch early on. 3 stolen bases all told against R.A. But look at that, 5 pickoffs.
And an almost balk.
Well, they called it, but then they rescinded it.
That's right.
And there's the good pickoff move.
Well, Keith, you'll know this better than anyone. Lucas playing first base makes it much more difficult to pick off the runner. He's got to catch that ball and slap the tag across his body, as opposed to a left-hander can just drop that glove on the bag.
It's a position for a left-hander.
That one's foul tipped, and it's 1-1. Well, Duda's in the lineup tonight because Mike Davis just hasn't hit lefties. And with Cliff Lee going for the Phils, Terry Collins trying to generate as much offense as he can for Dickey to get him some runs, which has been a big problem lately. Last 5 starts, the Mets have averaged just over 2.5 runs in Dickey's starts. And of course, here at Citi Field, they've now gone 13 straight home games without scoring more than 3 runs.
I do have to say, though, while Dickey was going through the first half, there were many runs that were on the board for R.A. in his starts. Mets were hitting the baseball every single time he made a start.
So you're saying it evens out in the end?
No, it does not even out. Never.
2-1 to Mayberry. And there's a good pickoff move, and Rollins just got the hand back.
See how he's on the back of that bag and reaches all the way, just that extra 6 inches, right?
That's all it takes. You are right. The right-handed hand, the glove on the right hand's an easy swipe.
And that's low to Mayberry, and now Dickey behind 3-1 with Utley and Howard coming up next.
This is the point in the game, usually early, where Mayberry might get a fastball here from R.A.
They're all very attentive of the knuckleballer here.
And that one skips by Duda, and Rollins will go to second. So Dickey spiking the pickoff throw, and Rollins at second base on Dickey's error.
Tough hop for Duda in between. Clearly up there on Dickey.
Yeah, right into the body of Jimmy Rollins. So we've got a strikeout, a pass ball, and an E1 runner on second.
Fourth error of the year for Dickey. And so now he's in immediate trouble. Runner in scoring position. Nobody out. A 3-1 count to Mayberry as the scouts look on. Why do they even have a radar gun?
That's true.
Little dribbler up the first base side. Dickey will field this one and get Mayberry. That's the first out as Rollins goes to third. Well, clearly R.A. has got a ton of movement on his knuckleball tonight. Now the question is, can he harness it?
Well, he's got a tough mark right here, and one of the shortest swings, most compact swings in the game. And Chase Utley, has only been here basically for the second half of the season with the injury. Numbers are down, particularly the average, but he is still one of the most dangerous hitters in the game.
Mets will bring the infield in the first inning, trying to choke off the run with Rollins at third and one out.
Interesting.
Well, it gives you an idea how Terry Collins expects this game to be played. Mets haven't been scoring, and they're facing lead tonight. And Utley takes the first pitch knuckler for a strike.
He has got a lot of movement on it tonight.
There's a pretty stiff wind blowing from the south, from behind the plate out towards center field, and sometimes that works to a knuckleballer's advantage.
Well, it's the ideal, except it can sometimes break too much, Gary.
11 miles an hour that wind. And Utley fouls it back, and quickly it's 0-2. So R.A. in a spot where he could use a strikeout. Dickey came into the night tied for second in the National League in strikeouts, tied with Steven Strasburg, who won't get any more, and trailing Clayton Kershaw, who may be shut down for the season, depending on what happens when he sees a hip specialist.
Boy, if he's got to have hip surgery, that's pretty early in your career to have that kind of injury.
So Dickey's got a chance to lead the league in strikeouts this year. Here's the 0-2. And it's backhanded by Nickias to keep Rollins from moving. 1-2. So Dickey now with 198 strikeouts, trying to become the first Met since Johan Santana 4 years ago to get to 200 strikeouts in a season. There are a lot of first sinces for R.A. this year. Here's the 1-2, and Utley drives it to center. On comes Torres, makes the grab. Rollins is going to try it. The throw by Torres is a horrible one, and Rollins scores 1-0 Philadelphia. Torres with all his momentum coming in. Rollins challenged him, and Torres was not up to the challenge.
Well, he just got too much of his momentum forward, Gare, and I just think just trying too hard to prevent. That's a knuckleball that didn't knuckle, by the way. Just trying too hard to get the runner, didn't really set himself. You see all that wasted motion, throwing off the wrong foot, and that's why he threw the hand grenade in.
And he had a chance because Rollins, watch Rollins, Keith, did not go back to the bag immediately.
He knew where the outfielders were. Good base running.
It's almost as though Torres didn't realize he was going to have to throw that ball until after he caught it and saw that Rollins was going. So, Phillies fashion a run without a hit. Ryan Howard bats with 2 out and nobody on. A strikeout, a pass ball, an error, a ground out, and a sacrifice fly. So an unearned run for the Phillies. And now Howard bats with 2 out and nobody on. Howard hitting just .229 on the year. And Keith mentioned it during the open. Twice during that series in Houston, the Astros walked Utley to get to Howard.
That's unbelievable. Has not hit a home run in 60 at bats, and that is second longest in his career. 65 is his longest drought. And another guy coming off a serious injury, the Achilles tendon, and the last game of that season for them, where they got eliminated.
Dickey jams him, and R.A. will make the play on Howard to end the inning, but the Phillies scratch out an unearned run to take the early lead. Mets come up against Cliff Lee when we come back.
Lucas Duda in, Mike Davis out at first base against the lefty, and Jason Bay gets his first start in almost a week.
Well, Cliff Lee's stats are presented to you by Toyota, and a pretty forgettable year for the 2008 Cy Young Award winner, except his last 4 starts, he's 3-0 with an ERA under 1.
And in his last 62 2/3 innings, he's walked 3 batters.
Well,
he's the best control artist in the league.
27 walks on the season.
Ruben Tejada leads things off, and he takes the first pitch fastball for ball 1. Tejada just 1 hit in his last 20 at bats. He's seen his average shrink to 284. But he's 5 for 10 in his career against Cliff Lee. And he takes a strike, 1-1. Lee's first half was utterly strange. He didn't pitch particularly well, but he managed to win only 1 game before the All-Star break, despite having efforts as Tejada lines one to left, and that settles down for a base hit in front of Dominic Brown, who made no effort to try and catch it, and the Mets have a leadoff base runner. But he had a 10-inning shutout in which he received a no decision. That's the kind of first half it was for Cliff Lee.
Well, you know what he did? You know, we always talk about you got to get the big outs. Every game was about the same. He'd go 5 innings, he'd be winning 2-0, he'd give up a 2-run home run, and that would be it.
He went through a period there where he was in tough luck and didn't have a win, and then it started to get to him, and they gave him leads, Ronnie. He went through a period there mid-season where he was coughing up the lead in the middle. And he had a little bit of an argument with Victorino on a play that Victorino didn't make a play in the dugout. So it hasn't been, like you said, it's a season for Cliff Lee to forget.
Daniel Murphy hitting .391 in September, .294 for the year. A ball and a strike to Murphy with David Wright waiting on deck. This is the 5th time the Mets have faced Lee this year. He's 1-1 against him, 3.67 ERA. So the Mets have had a couple of good days against Lee. And he paints that one for a strike, 1-2.
Well, you know, if the Mets are going to come up to the plate looking for working the count, this is going to be a long day.
This is a guy that you want to be aggressive and offensively attack him.
And the breaking ball strikes out Murphy for the first out. So Lee got ahead, threw the hammer. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, that's one thing he's been using more. You guys probably noticed in his first starts, he wasn't using that curveball at all, more of a slider.
And we look at the Coors Light defense, the Philadelphia Philly defense, and of course Gold Glover there and Rollins. Now, I told you in the open that they lost some ball games defensively. Howard made a bad play at first base with the bases loaded in Houston, and Franzen made a couple errors, and there was 3 errors at third base in that series, and Michael Martinez made one of them, as well as Franzen. So it was not a well-played series for Houston at really the worst possible time.
Now David Wright, his average has slipped to .310, the lowest it's been all year, and the first time all season his on-base percentage has been under .400. David 0 for his last 9. David was hitting .405 as recently as May 24th. Since then, .277. Ball and a strike to David.
He's just been tardy. He's got a little bit more of a take back now, a little more extra motion. He hasn't been getting the barrel squared up, and he's got away from that line drive swing and more of an uppercut.
David starts the night 7 hits shy of Ed Kranepool's club record, 1,418 hits.
But he'll never get Eddie's Shea Stadium hit record. Never get it. Eddie will be the first one to tell you.
Plus he plays a few games in the parking lot. That's right. David reaching for that one and fouls it off, 2-2.
You know what, for an organization that really has never had Mets, anybody that really played their whole career here, you know, not a whole lot of people. Ed Kranepool. Sure, how many years did Eddie play here?
18.
18 years.
I mean, they weren't 18 full years. There's a base hit for Wright. So he's now 6 hits behind Kranepool, and the Mets have 2 men on against Cliff Lee.
A little cutter in, middle of the plate here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. That's a changeup, middle of the plate.
Needed to get it away.
Well, that's the thing about Kranepool is that he became kind of a platoon pinch hitter very young in his career. I mean, young of age.
Right. I mean, he was never really a guy who had the job. Every year they'd give it to somebody else. He'd end up playing more than anybody else, but you know, he was a 400 at bat a season kind of player for a lot of his career. Here's Scott Hairston. Mets down a run in the first inning, trying to get it right back. Hairston hitting .301 against lefties this year with 10 home runs. And takes a strike and cutter on the inside. 0-1. Hairston at .263 for the year. Lucas Duda waits on deck.
Hairston only had one at bat in Milwaukee.
And the curveball bounced to third. Franzen gets the tough hop, goes to second, and Utley able to kick the bag and get the force. I don't think Utley was expecting Franzen to come there with that throw and had to find the bag to get the force on right.
Well, very seldom do you see Chase Utley falling asleep. Nice play by Franzen. Well, he wasn't asleep. He just lost the bag there.
But I think you're right. He assumed that Franzen was going to go to first base coming in on that ball and made a tough throw to second.
Did he actually get the bag when he kicked for it?
I think he did.
Check it out here.
Well, that's a tough
I'm
one.
not sure he did. Maybe he swiped it with his toe, but that's the only chance he might have
That's
gotten.
a tough call.
Second base umpire Brian Gorman on top of the play. So first and third and 2 out. Here's Lucas Duda. And he takes the cutter low and away for ball 1.
What makes that such a nice play, and all pitchers are very appreciative, is that now you're playing now. You got to force out at second. You haven't got 2 minutes scoring position. That's a nice play by the third baseman.
Duda swung the bat very well in Milwaukee, and he drives this one foul. There's the foot not on the bag. He missed it.
Oh boy, it's
There's
tough.
your Coors Light freeze cam.
We've been getting that Coors Light freeze cam in early lately.
It's a good thing. Early and often. 1-1 to Duda. And Lucas watches away. 2-1.
Let me ask you a question. If the umpire on second base, Brian Holman, can you make the vicinity call on that play?
I don't think so.
Shouldn't, right?
No. It's not like he's trying to get out of the way to avoid contact. He's trying to kick the bag, and he missed.
Right. Lucas had a couple of plays. Balls to hit.
Okay.
It was a very good year.
Oh, Wally. 86. Very nice.
They gave him 86.
He gets 86.
Really?
Tuffle didn't get 86.
He was a platoon player. Come on.
Two to Duda, and that's off the plate. And a full count to Lucas with Jason Bay on deck. Lee's given up 2 hits in this first inning. Tejada at third. Hairston set to run from first with 2 down. And Duda down on strikes. Lee gets him with a cutter. Second strikeout of the inning. And the Mets strand a pair. 1-0 Phillies after 1. first inning. A pass ball, Dickey's throwing error, and a short sacrifice fly by Chase Utley, helping to chase in a run. Here's Carlos Ruiz, who was on the disabled list till about 10 days ago. He had torn plantar fascia in the bottom of his foot, and right now able to play about every other day because that foot is still giving him some trouble. But Ruiz is such a huge part of this Phillies team, they're going to use him as much as they can.
That knuckleball is darting and dashing.
Right now Nicky's is about 50%.
Dancer and Prancer.
Fouled off by Ruiz, who's having a terrific year. He's hitting .332, 14 home runs. He had only 328 at bats. On base percentage over .400. His slugging percentage almost .550. Here's the 1-2, and it's hit up the middle, and Ruiz has the Phillies' first hit.
You know, it's interesting. Something I've seen happen recently. The hitters will acknowledge the pitcher with a tip of the cap on their first at bat. I've seen it everywhere. I've never seen that before.
Next thing you know, when they hit a home run, the pitcher will come down and shake the hitter's hands.
I've honestly never seen it before. I see it everywhere now.
You think it's a concerted thing that players are doing?
I think it's I think they mean it like, hey, I respect you or whatever, but I don't get it.
Neither do I. It's the enemy.
Well, here's Nate Sherholtz, who's had some very good luck against Dickey as he takes a strike. Sherholtz, the former Giant, 3 for 7 with 2 home runs against RA. And he has torn up the Mets this year. First time the Mets have seen him as a Philly, he was hurt when the Mets were in Philadelphia last month. And Sherholtz fouls it off.
He's got good numbers against the knuckleball too, right? Against RA.
He's only got 47 at bats in 24 games with the Phillies since the trade over from the Giants.
Dominic Brown waiting on deck. Dickey working ahead in the count. Dickey has struggled to catch that one. Well, it's been a while since Mike's been behind the plate for Dickey. It's the 8th time this year that Nickius has caught Dickey, including the one hitter that Dickey threw at Tampa Bay this year. So it's not like it's his first go-around with the knuckler, but it's been a while. Down to first base, a foul ball.
You're almost tempted to catch like the catchers used to catch in the 20s. You know, kind of almost standing up and leaning forward and ready at any time to move.
Well, as many a catcher has said, you have to do everything the opposite of what you've been taught. It doesn't make it easier, though. And the slow knuckleball, and he gets the strikeout. Dickey fans Sherholtz one away. Well, second strikeout for RA.
Sorry, Gary, that pitch has been much more effective the last 2 or 3 starts. In fact, remember that shutout that Dickey threw a few starts ago? He ended that game on a slow knuckleball just like that one.
10 miles an hour slower than his standard knuckleball. He can dial it back even further than that. Here's Dominic Brown, who was brought up when the Phillies traded 2/3 of their outfield right before the trading deadline. 36th game that Brown has started. He's hitting just .239. He's had some fits and starts as a Philly the last couple of years. It just hasn't kicked in for him yet. Kevin Franzen, the number 8 hitter, waits on deck. Boy, you got a feel for Nickius tonight.
Yeah, no, he's
got
fighting
no chance back there.
Yeah, he's fighting it. I mean, you try to stay relaxed, let the ball come to you, but it's going every which way but loose.
Well, that one eluded Nickius and Brown, and it's 2-1.
Now, all the people, sorry, Keith, that I would think has a chance against the knuckleball, Dominic Brown has a long swing. Those tend to work against the knuckleball for some reason.
Why is that?
Maybe it's the speed. You know, they're susceptible to real hard fastballs, but it's the speed of the knuckleball.
Well, I think that you want to, with a long swing, you got to throw the hard one to him.
Yeah.
The little line drive hitters up there, the Pete Rose type hitters, Tony Gwynn, they're the ones that are going to have the ones you got to watch out for.
Now the 2-2, and that's inside, and a full count to Brown. Second 3-ball count. Dickey is run. And a balk is called. A balk called on Dickey was called by the first base umpire, Bob Davidson. No surprise there. Davidson over the years has called more balks than any man alive.
You can't argue it with the first base umpire. Bob Davidson was told him to go back on the mound and pitch.
Now Davidson was pointed to his shoulder.
Well, what he's saying is that when you throw over there, you've got to make an exaggerated move with your feet and open up. And what he's saying, which is not true and he's wrong, is that Ari is throwing across his body without his left shoulder opening up in time. Impossible to do.
I don't believe that was a balk.
Brown is down on strikes. And that's the second out of the inning. Third strikeout for Dickey.
I've had the same argument with Bob a half a dozen times, and I lost 6-0. You have to open that front shoulder, but what he's saying is that you're throwing across your body without opening your shoulder, which is not allowed. But he is not doing that because it's physically impossible to do.
Is Dickey's move very similar to yours?
It's very, very similar. I would say he's might be up there a notch. He's more accurate than I was.
So here's Kevin Franzen, the number 8 hitter, with a runner in scoring position and first base open. The Mets are going to pitch to him. Tejada was expecting otherwise. He was standing on second base ready for an intentional walk, and now one is forthcoming.
I would not do this. I know that the knuckleball is going to neutralize a pitcher hitting, but Cliff Lee is one of the best athletes on that Philly team. It's not like you're going to get someone who doesn't have any clue on what he's doing. Ari at his best with the knuckleball. It doesn't matter who's up. It really doesn't.
And Franzen has been hot. He's hitting .343, but he's never seen Dickey before. So Cliff Lee is going to bat with 2 men on. And there's ball 4.
I just do not like turning the lineup over, but that seems to be the state of the game and how most managers treat it today.
The strikeout of Brown, the 3rd of the night for Dickey, the 200th of his season. First time in his career he's reached 200 strikeouts, and only the 4th pitcher to do that for the first time after his 37th birthday.
3 of the 4 now knuckleballers.
Lee has 10 hits this year and 4 runs batted in. Ruiz at second, Franzen at first with 2 down. And he takes a strike on the inside. 1-1. Jimmy Rollins, who scored the only run of this game, waits on deck. And Lee chases the pitch upstairs, and it's 1-2. Lee looking as frustrated as the real hitters. Slow ground ball. Duda plays it. Dickey gets over. Side retired. 3-1 put out ends the inning. Dickey works around the balk and talks to Bob Davidson about it before he heads to the dugout. Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. Cliff Lee takes a 1-0 lead into the bottom of the second inning. Jason Bay, Andres Torres, and Mike Nickius will bat against Lee. Nickius, one of a host of Mets players who's come by way of Buffalo this year, and the Mets just announced that their new AAA affiliate next year will not be in Buffalo. It will be in Las Vegas. They signed a 2-year agreement. The folks in Buffalo, because they're kind of far removed from Major League Baseball, they're very focused on winning.
Yeah.
And I think the Mets as an organization like to win in the minor leagues, but care a lot more about player development. So I think sometimes those things are at odds, and I think that's why that marriage dissolved.
The best of both worlds is if you can do both, right?
That would be what you'd aspire to, yeah.
I mean, Sam Perlazzo, who's the first base coach of Philadelphia Phillies, played a big part in a lot of those great players that came to the Mets in the 80s. Every year he was in Lynchburg and then Jackson 2 years, and they won the title all three.
Jason Bay takes a strike, and it's 1-1. I know when I was broadcasting AAA baseball in Pawtucket, we had a different situation there because Pawtucket's 45 minutes from Boston, and they've been the Red Sox AAA affiliate for years. And the people in Pawtucket care much more about the development of players for the Red Sox. Whereas if you are in Buffalo, you may not be a Mets fan, so you may not care so much about the development. You might care more about your team winning. So there's a strike 3 call to Bay, and that's the 3rd strikeout for Lee.
Well, I know what you're saying. They have a beautiful ballpark, and it's downtown, and it's part of a commercial enterprise. Having a winning team.
And they've seen their ticket sales drop off because they haven't had winning teams in recent years. So they go in a different direction, and it looks like Buffalo's going to affiliate with Toronto, which makes more sense because from a geographic standpoint, it works for them. Now for the Mets, moving to Las Vegas, it's going to be a little different as Torres takes a strike.
Well, there's 2 things that are going to happen. It's going to present some challenges to their young pitchers as they develop them, because having an ERA in the mid-4s is very normal for Las Vegas in thin air. But even more importantly, how are you going to judge your offensive players and their numbers? When a guy has 20 home runs at the break, is he a 20 home run guy or is he a Las Vegas guy?
And then the other piece is the logistical piece, which is if you have to call up a player from the minor leagues, you can get him here from Buffalo in an hour. Torres, batting right-handed, has himself a broken bat hit. He's now hitting over 300 as a right-hand batter this year.
Well, off the end of the bat, Torres has been hitting a good right-handed on the ball out over the plate, middle end, around bell tie, and that's the pitch he likes. And he's been getting a lot of it lately, and that's why he's been hitting so well from that side.
So now Mike Nickius, who hopes it's easier to catch a Cliff Lee cutter than it is an R.A. Dickey knuckleball. Nickius making his 34th start for the Mets this year, but his first since July the 24th. Nickius spent most of the season as the Mets' primary backup catcher. Wound up being supplanted by first Rob Johnson and then Kelly Shoppach. And Lee quickly out ahead 0-2.
Got to be ready to hit in the stretch from Cliff Lee. It's almost like he'll quick pitch you. Comes to this set, and before you know it, he's on his way.
He's the kind of pitcher you like to play behind, and as a hitter, if he's an opponent, he's one of the best pitchers in the game, even though he's not having that kind of year. It's a challenge. He works fast. He throws strikes. He's not afraid. So it's almost, it's a great one-on-one.
Torres at first with 1 out, and Nickius asked for time.
Nickius on his backswing to get ready, hit the glove of Ruiz, and that signals for the umpire to call time reset.
See if he can do that on the swing in the game. That would work for him. There's strike 3 called. Cutter gets Nicky is looking, and that's 4 quick strikeouts for Cliff Lee.
It's much more difficult to judge, but all you have to do is look at the numbers. Forget about the videotape. This guy does not walk people, and when he has 2 strikes, he's coming after you, and he better be ready to hit.
Well, it's
right
not
down
the
the
first
middle,
time
right
the Mets
there.
have faced Cliff Lee. I mean, they've faced him 5 times already this year. At this point, they know the deal. Here's Dickey, who has 10 hits and 3 RBIs this year, and he takes a strike.
Oh, Tim. All right, you made the play.
Were you concerned?
Hey, I'm watching Tim over there all year. He's improved.
The key is, as the base coach, you have to know which ones to play and which ones to let go by.
That's right.
You know, it was very fun. Thank you, Mr. Dickey, for fouling it off, because we would have had to go to commercial break. Was on the ride home, the plane ride home from Milwaukee, up in first class, where the manager and the coaches said there was Wally and Tuff sitting together.
That's great.
I came on board the plane. It was like deja vu all over again.
All you guys needed was Ray, and you're all set.
Dickey down on strikes. Lee fans 3 in the inning. 5 strikeouts for Cliff Lee. 1-0 Phillies after 2. So it's the Phillies at 7:10. The first 10,000 fans will receive a pink compact mirror courtesy of Delta Airlines. Wear pink and raise awareness for breast cancer. Tickets are as low as $5. Visit Mets.com/BCA. Jimmy Rollins leads off in the 3rd. Jimmy struck out to start the game, but reached on a pass ball and came around to score the only run. And he takes a knuckleball high for ball 1. Rollins, Mayberry, and Utley for the Phillies in the 3rd. Rollins with 20 home runs and 30 steals this year. It's the 4th time in his career he's had a season with 20 home runs and 30 stolen bases.
Over 2,000 hits. Collected his 2,000th hit beginning of the month. I think September 4th against the Reds.
You know, when the Mets were in Philadelphia the last time, Rollins was pulled from a game by Charlie Manuel for lack of hustle. And it's not the first time we've seen that happen with Rollins, and he seems to respond to that.
Yes.
because he's been red hot ever since.
All right.
He goes down on strikes. That's number 4 for Dickey, 1 out of the 3rd.
Well, he likes and respects Charlie Manuel, obviously.
Dickey ran right after him this time. This could have been called a strike. It was called up, then one inside on the hands. Again, another ball could have been called. It was not. Perfect strike in the outside corner, and then bottomed one out. Very nice.
And by the way, he's got 4 strikeouts in this Wago, and that gives him 201 strikeouts on the season. Congratulations. That to me is always a milestone, a seasonal milestone for a pitcher. On Ronnie?
Yeah, absolutely. I never reached that number. That's huge.
John Mayberry takes a fastball, first one Dickey's thrown tonight, for ball 1. Mayberry hit a comebacker his first time up. Now, we had mentioned earlier that Dickey's only the 4th pitcher to get to 200 strikeouts for the first time after his 37th birthday. 2 of the other guys to do it were knuckleballers, Charlie Huff and Phil Niekro. The 3rd one is the guy that Dickey is chasing. That would be Cy Young. 1904. 37 years old, had his first 200 strikeout season.
511, is that the number?
511 wins.
Gee.
I don't think that one's going to be tough.
No.
C. Young is not Chris, by the way. That's the side. Swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts for Dickey to start the 3rd, as he gets Mayberry for his 5th of the night.
That's the real hard knuckleball that does not drop. It stays true right up in the strike zone. Watch it. Kind of a little tail, but not much. See that knuckleball come out of his hand. When he throws it real hard, sometimes it'll have a little more rotation on it, but it doesn't matter because the speed gets by him.
Here's Chase Utley, who delivered the only run with a short sacrifice fly in the 1st inning. And he takes a fastball for a strike. So Dickey rolling out a couple of fastballs in this inning, surprising Utley on that first pitch. Dickey at 202 strikeouts now, 4 behind Clayton Kershaw for the league lead. And, you know, when you start thinking about the Cy Young, Kershaw all of a sudden maybe not able to pitch for the rest of the year. That opens the door because the defending Cy Young winner would be out. Johnny Cueto's left the door open because he's had 3 bad September starts. That's lined into right field, and Harrison will play it on the hop, and Utley has a 2-out hit.
And Gio Gonzalez last night went, 5 and gave up 2 runs. So I think the door has been opened wide, and right now the man in the lead and it has his destiny in his own hands is the man out there in the mound, R.A. Dickey.
Gio, 5 innings in the rain in Atlanta, which is interesting, Gary.
Now he and Dickey are even. They've each had 1 bad start in the rain in Atlanta.
That's right.
Now, Gio's outing could have been worse because he left with 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. And Craig Stammen got him out of it without a run scoring. Otherwise, he could have had 4 runs against his ledger last night. But even so, Dickey is well ahead of Gio as far as ERA is concerned. He started the night 1 strikeout ahead of Gonzalez as well. And, of course, 1 victory behind as Nikias boxes that one and locates it in time. Ball 1 to Ryan Howard. So Gonzalez failing in his first try to win 20, and Dickey tonight in his 2nd crack at 19.
You know, another thing too is innings pitched. Gonzalez is not even in the top 10 in innings pitched. Dickey's number 2. He's going to take the lead tonight.
So innings, strikeouts, ERA, winning percentage with a team that's 14 games under 500.
You know, it's funny. MVP voters often only look at contenders to look for MVP candidates, but Cy Young voters sometimes reward pitchers for pitching on bad teams.
That's right. Felix Hernandez a couple of seasons ago.
The big shift, and that's always doing the extremes in infield positioning.
And Howard takes a big rip. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And Howard has been mired in a deep slump here. They say he is absolutely lost up there.
Well, the knuckleball's not going to help.
That is not a remedy to get out of a slump.
2-2 coming from R.A. And a fly ball hit to left, chasing Bay back toward the corner. Makes the running catch. Jason Bay, for all his problems, continues to be fearless going after balls near walls. And he makes a nice running play to rob Ryan Howard and end the inning. Jason Bay helping out for Dickey. Still 1-0 Phillies. The second time around the batting order, Ruben Tejada, who seems to have Lee's number, will lead off. Tejada had a base hit to left his first time up. Now 6 for 11 against the former Cy Young winner. Lee this year became the first Cy Young winner ever to go 13 starts into a season without a win.
Wow.
Some of it luck, some of it bad timing, some of it poor pitching. But you look at the bottom line with Cliff, he's 5-7, but his ERA is 3.36, which a lot of pitchers would be awfully happy with.
Yeah, in that ballpark too.
Well, that's been his biggest problem. He's given up 22 home runs this year, and 20 of them against right-hand hitters. Only one pitcher in the National League has given up more home runs to right-hand hitters, and that's Clayton Richard, who pitches in a pitcher's ballpark in San Diego.
Well, Cliff might be the only guy that occasionally, as a pitching coach, you probably have to go up to him and say, you know what, you're throwing too many strikes. Occasionally when you get ahead, let's get something out of the strike zone.
Precisely. You know, Jonathan Neese also has 18 home runs he's given up to right-hand hitters. So, epidemic.
Well, when Lee falls behind you 3-1, you don't want to be taking. See what Tejada can do here. Ahead of the count with Murphy and Wright to follow.
I think most anybody, Gary, even if you got unless you're behind in the game late.
But what we've watched so much this year is Tejada drives one to right field and Sherholtz steadies and grabs it one away. We've seen so much taking on 2-0 and 3-1 this year.
No. I always think you make a living that way, don't you?
Well, he's been awfully consistent, hasn't he? Tremendous walk numbers.
2008 is when he won his Cy Young Award. 22 wins that season.
22 and 3.
Don't forget, 2007, they sent him to the minor leagues.
It was with Cleveland. Of course, Lee was originally drafted by the Montreal Expos back in 2000, 4th-round pick, and was part of that notorious trade that the Expos made when they thought they were going to be contracted. They sent Cliff Lee, Brandon Phillips, and Grady Sizemore to the Indians for Bartolo Colon. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It really
when you think
is.
back on it.
You had a short stay in Montreal, right?
Yeah, I was there just a couple of weeks.
Was that good or bad for you? Were you glad to get out of there, or didn't matter?
They were really glad for me to get out of there. I had 3 starts, and they couldn't have been any worse. I think I just had you have that original team, and I always consider the Mets my original team, even though I was drafted by Texas. You have that original team hangover when you get traded for the first time.
Maybe it was the tricolor hats.
I would have had a hard time in Montreal. I never liked playing there.
2-2 to Murphy, and he goes down on strikes for the second time. So Lee takes care of Murphy again. That's 6 strikeouts for Lee.
Not a good swing here. Murph had 2 little waves at the ball away. Murph gets caught up sometimes in seeing the ball. He wants to see the ball deep into the zone. Well, sometimes he almost sees it into the catcher's glove.
So now David Wright, who ripped a base hit to left his first time up. Both these pitchers piling up the strikeouts early. Dickey with 5 strikeouts in the first 3 innings. Lee already has 6. Wright goes up there hacking, fouls off the cutter, 0-1.
When I say that about, excuse me, Ron, when I say that about Murph, Murph is a natural hitter that goes into the left center field gap. He goes the other way. I think he gets too defensive sometimes with 2 strikes. I mean, the pitcher throws him away. That should be a mistake by that pitcher.
Franzen plays the 2-hopper, and off the bag Howard to put the tag on Wright. Side retired. Lee with his first 1-2-3 inning, 1-0 after 3. Mercedes.com. Carlos Ruiz with a big swing and a miss as we start the 4th inning. Ruiz singled to center his first time up. 1 of 2 hits off R.A. Dickey. Phillies scored the only run of the game, an unearned run without a hit in the first inning. A strikeout pass ball, a key to that Phillies run. A ball and a strike to Ruiz with Nate Scherholtz and Dominic Brown to follow.
That got the shoulder of the umpire. That one was a late mover.
Todd Tishner getting the brunt of this as Nickius just barely got glove on
we got him in the head.
mask. Now R.A. behind 3-1. Nope. He hasn't walked a batter tonight except for the intentional pass to Franzen in the last inning.
3-1 fastball.
Good spot.
If you're a knuckleball pitcher and you throw a fastball, is location as important as it would be for another pitcher?
On a 3-1 count, yes.
Because they're expecting.
Yeah.
Hairston is in there in right field to grab it, but say if you're surprising a guy in a non-fastball count,
you make sure you don't miss. I mean, it's so important that if you choose to throw a fastball like he did to Utley the first pitch, don't miss. Because if you miss with it, now you're wanting, you're going to come back with a knuckleball. He probably, his fastball when he's going well in the course of the game, he'll throw 10 to 15. If he throws 12, 10 of them will be strikes.
So 1 out and nobody on. Nate Scherholtz is the batter. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
And while we watch R.A. Dickey tonight, tomorrow our last chance this year at least to watch Matt Harvey do his thing. And say this about him. We've talked about so many of his good qualities, those besides what we see on the field, what he brings on the pitcher's mound. He's really gotten a chance to, I think, enjoy this. Spend some time with him today talking about it. He said, it was my goal coming into the year. I wanted to get to the big leagues, and I think it's made it extra special that I've been able to do that. It's been awesome, and you really can't equate the feeling of being here until you're here. I had all these thoughts in my head what it would be like, but until you're here, and it's hard to explain. He said my perfect example is, I come up and I'm out to the dugout for the game, and I'm sitting between Johan Santana and R.A. Dickey, and I'm looking to my left. I'm thinking, holy cow, it's Johan. And what I thought about is, 6, 7 years down the road, I want to be Johan. I want to be that really great pitcher where a young guy comes up and feels that sitting next to me. I'm here and this has been great. Now I've got to figure out what I have to do to stay here. I want to be the best. We'll see you tomorrow one last time, fellas.
It'll be the 10th start for Matt Harvey tomorrow. And it's hard to think of a recent Met rookie who's come up and had 9 or 10 starts the way Matt Harvey's had.
What was interesting is that if we're going to tease it a little, I did some of the numbers on Mets and their history who have come up in their first 10 starts, what they did. And I was lucky enough, you reminded me to include Jason Isringhausen in that set. So we'll show that tomorrow where Matt fits amongst some of the Met greats.
So you ran through what? Seaver,
Kuzman, Matlack, Dwight. I looked at the numbers of Paul Wilson. He was probably the guy that struggled the most of the 10 starts. I did not look at Isringhausen until you told me.
Well, Izzy came up was 9-2 his first year, so it has to be pretty good.
6-2 in his first 10 starts.
Murphy throws out Scherholtz for the second out.
Kuz had 2 shutouts amongst his 10 starts.
Wow. So Dickey with a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning of the night as he takes on Dominic Brown, who struck out his first time up. And he drives one to right center field. That's in for an extra base hit. It'll roll to the wall. Brown to second, takes the turn. He's going to try for 3. Murphy with the relay throw, not in time. And Dominic Brown has his first triple of the year.
Well, some long strides out of Brown. Looked like he was running out of gas on the way to third. He's a big, tall drink of water, long-legged. Doesn't look like he's running hard. But remember, he had the bad knee, too. He had some knee issues the last time we were in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago.
It looked like he couldn't find his gait on the entire way around.
Second career triple for Brown. He's at third with 2 out. Kevin Franzen will be pitched to this time, and he takes a strike. Well, with a runner at second and 2 out in the second, the Mets intentionally walked Franzen, but with a runner at third and 2 out here in the fourth, they've opted to pitch to him. Perhaps R.A. said something. That one's hit to shortstop. Tejada slides over to get it and throws out Franzen, side retired. A 2-out triple and a man left on. Still 1-0 Phillies in the fourth. Dialed In, presented by Verizon, and you know what that means, Keith.
Well, I tell you what, we haven't had it in a while. I was just very excited about this one. We're talking about September, and here we are, the Mets playing the season out. Chance for young players to come up. The Mets are going to be in a position to make decisions of which direction they're going to go, and it gives them an opportunity to look at a lot of young players, let them play without any pressure. I hate that word, pressure, but they can play relaxed. How's that? That's better. And get an idea and assessment of what your young players from the minor leagues that you've brought up, what they can do.
You know, that's very interesting that you decided to raise that topic, because, you know, once I saw us on camera just now, I realized we're all wearing purple ties.
Yes.
And I thought maybe that would be a better topic of conversation for you, you know.
Oh, well, purple, it's kind of, it's a little psychedelic color.
Psychedelic tie you
kind
got
of
working
our
there.
retro 60s.
Well, you're a psychedelic kind of guy.
Wow. Hey, you had the long hair, not me, Gary.
I definitely did, back when I had hair to grow long.
We got to get that picture and show it.
Show it like to the world?
Yes, to the fan base. I think they would love to see you at Columbia with your long hair.
They never tune in again. Hairston takes the strike, and it's 1-1. Hairston into a fielder's choice his first time up. Mets have had 3 hits. Phillies have had 3 hits. Phillies got an unearned run without a hit in the first, and that's been enough for Cliff Lee so far. And Hairston slugs one foul, 1-2.
It's been a little bit of a tough slog for Hairston of late. Hasn't played much of late either. So
and one at bat he had in Milwaukee, he hit a seed to third base.
Yes, he did.
Lucas Duda on deck, then Jason Bay. Nobody swings the bat harder, more consistently than Scott Hairston.
He doesn't get cheated. In his last 10 games, 2 for 18. So that's a kind of a little bit of a slog he's running through right now. But still.
But the 2 hits in those 18 at bats were both home runs.
Right,
so.
And he does swing the bat, and he is a threat, and you cannot take him lightly.
17 home runs, matching his career high. And he watches that one for strike 3 called. So Lee gets him looking for his 7th strikeout of the night.
Well, Todd Tichenor is calling the ball down the strike zone. It's a backdoor cutter. Starts on the outside, just bends over that outside corner. Watch it. Just catch the outside part of that plate.
3rd called strike for Lee. Got Nikias looking. Got Bay looking.
He's
now Hairston.
He's no meddling, but he's on a pace.
Well, Lee's had as many as 12 strikeouts in a game this year, as many as 16 in his career.
See that Medlin had 8 called third strikes the other day amongst his 13 punch outs.
No decision.
That's right.
But they won the game. That's 20 in a row.
What's that? Tie the record, Clemens, right? With the
longest
Yankees.
since Clemens in 01. Duda struck out his first time up. By the way, the Braves are up 6-0 tonight in Miami with Tim Hudson on the mound. Well, the Braves, by sweeping the Nats this weekend, at least made it feasible for them to catch Washington for the division title. They're 5.5 back starting the night. The Nats were hoping to go into that series and basically put the division away, but it didn't happen that way.
Well, they're 6 back in the loss column, and Washington has played 1 less game.
And that'll change tonight because Atlanta's playing and Washington's not. Well, actually, no, then it'll be 2.
2. Yeah, 2.
Okay. Lee ahead 1-2. And the curveball hit the deep right field. Back goes Sherholtz near the wall, and it's off the fence. Sherholtz makes a nice play on the carom, and Duda gets to second base safely with a double. Boy, if that ball had bounced away from Sherholtz, Duda would have had 3 bases. But Sherholtz, a very good outfielder, played that carom well.
And he's in a ballpark I'm not familiar with. Over in the National League West for years, he played that beautifully.
Well, if you're going to have any proven ground to play, tough walls coming from San Francisco. Hanging curve.
Hanging curve and just got too quick. If you'd have waited a split second longer, that would have been off the meat of the bat, and that would have been over there in Flushing Bay or wherever, over where those automobile, whatever you want to call them, the chop shops over there. Jeez.
Tying run at second with 1 out. Jason Bay, the batter. Jason went down looking his first time up, and he takes a cutter for a strike. Jason now 0 for his last 16. He's contributed tonight with his glove with a nice running catch. He'd like to get a base hit here for Dickey and tie up the game. And Lee quickly ahead 0-2.
Another one on the black. Fastball beats Jason. With the stance he has right there, almost impossible for him to reach that pitch.
That's just not long enough.
Nope. It's a good pitch, 0-2 right there.
Set him up to go back away.
Or you can double up or whatever you want to do. It's just you got your own choice, right, Ronnie?
Yeah.
Multiple choices.
That fastball off the plate, and it's 2-2.
He loves to, after the fastball he misses away, he likes to throw that cutter that starts away and darts that outside corner. It's almost like as a right-handed hitter, you give up on it.
Now the 2-2, and Bay pops it up. Sherholtz in to call, and has it for the second out as Duda has to hold at second. So Jason is retired, 2 out, and it's left to Andres Torres, who had a broken bat single to left his first time up. Torres now hitting over 300 as a right-hand batter, 175 from the left side. Really been the story of his season at the plate. If you're Cliff Lee and you're working with a 1-0 lead and you got Mike Nickias standing on deck, how careful are you here to Torres?
I think that Cliff Lee is an alpha personality.
Yep.
And he doesn't even think of Mike Nickias. He is looking at Andres Torres and saying to himself, how am I going to bury this guy with 2 outs?
Yep, exactly.
Torres now 3 for 10 against Lee, and he hits one to center field, hit well, but Mayberry has room to go back and grab it, and that ends the inning. A double and 1 left. Still 1-0 Phils after 4. Start of the year for New York. Tyler Cloyd goes for the Phils. 6:30 the coverage tomorrow night right here on SNY as Harvey makes his 10th and final start of the year for the Mets. Then Wednesday night Jeremy Hefner goes back in to the rotation against Cole Hamels. Cliff Lee leads off the 5th inning for the Phils. Lee grounded out to first base to strand a pair in the 2nd inning. And he drives one to left. Over comes Bay to make the running grab. One pitch and one out in the fifth for RA. Well, the way Lee is pitching and the way the Mets have been hitting at home, yeah, Dickey's got to be thinking to himself, he just can't afford to give up anything now.
Well, he shouldn't have given up anything anyways, but he has. But I think you're right, Gary. He's got to think of he's got to match zeros until maybe Lee cracks or they get into the bullpen.
Rollins has struck out twice, but the first time he struck out leading off the game, he reached on a pass ball and came in with a game's only run. And taking all the way that first pitch knuckleball. It's not the Jimmy Rollins we know.
Already quick pitched him. He wasn't ready.
Rollins has been over swinging against the knuckleball here.
And he hits this one deep to right field. Back goes Hairston to the track. Back at the wall, leaping, and it's in play, apparently, as it went off his glove. On his way to third is Rollins, and he slides in safely.
They're going to have to take a look at that.
I'm not sure if that ball went over the fence and came back or not.
I will say one thing. Second base umpire Tom Gorman did not. I'm sorry, Brian Gorman didn't even run out.
See it.
It's a
home run.
That hit the black above the orange line. At least it apparently did.
Which is kind of the roof to the bullpen there.
That's a home run. And Brian Gorman did not run out at all. He just lollygagged it out there.
Well, I would assume we're going to get video review now as Hairston made the leap at the fence. Actually pulled the fence down a little bit as he made the leap. But that ball did seem to go off the black. And the umpires will go take a look at the video to see whether it will stand as a triple or go as a home run.
And if they call it the correct way, Rollins stays hot.
There's a Coors Light freeze cam, and that certainly did appear to hit the edge of that black roof.
Just a little lazy there by Brian Gorman. I'll tell you what, he got to hustle his fanny out there and make a call.
One more look this one time from the other side, and clearly that's the best view we've had.
And the ball beat Scott. Great valiant try by Hairston on that play, but ball beat him to the roof.
Rollins, to his credit, never stopped running and legged it out to third, but he's going to be able to go the extra 90 feet, and the Phillies are going to have a 2-0 lead. It'll be Rollins' 21st home run of the year.
And that'll be the 20th home run given up by RA this season.
Well, so now Dickey finds himself in a further hole. It'll be the first earned run he's given up tonight. But now to be behind 2-0 against a pitcher the quality of Lee, with the Mets struggling to score at home as much as they have over the last month, presents him with quite a predicament. And here come the umpires. And Brian Gorman signals home run. So Rollins can go the last 90 feet. He has his 21st home run of the year, and the Phillies have a 2-0 lead. A 1 minute and 22 second review.
Getting very good at that, aren't they?
Better than the NFL.
They've got extenuating circumstances.
Better than the NFL with the real refs.
Okay.
Rollins' 25th career home run against the Mets. That's the most he's hit against any team. Not quite Chipper Jones, but getting there.
Still for a leadoff hitter, right?
Here's John Mayberry with one out, and he takes the knuckleball high. Mayberry hit a comebacker and then struck out. He's 0 for 2. I think Rollins was describing how he got quick pitched on that first pitch.
Pete Cannon coming over to speak to him.
Popped up on the left side.
The shortstop.
Tejada calls off right, 2 away. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Chase Utley, who drove in the first Phillies run with a sacrifice fly, then he singled to right in the third. So Dickey will not be able to extend that extraordinary number he has this year. He's had 15 starts this year where he's gone at least 7 innings and allowed 1 run or less. even though one of the runs unearned tonight. Still, 15 times in, this is now his 30th start, half his starts.
Well, he talked about in the open, there's a fastball there. It's just you're looking for consistency from your athletes on a baseball team. No one's been more consistent than R.A.
Well up high to Utley. Terry Collins was saying the other day he's never had a pitcher have a year like Dickey's having. He managed Chuck Finley in Anaheim. He had Shane Reynolds have a pretty good year in Houston, but nothing on the order of what R.A. has done. And Utley loses the bat going after that knuckleball, and that ends the inning. 6 strikeouts for Dickey, but the Phillies add a run. It took him an extra minute and 22 seconds, but Rollins gets credit for his 21st home run of the year just beyond the leaping Hairston. 2-0 Phillies halfway through at Citi Field. Run in the first, a Jimmy Rollins home run in the 5th, and R.A. Dickey down 2-0 as Cliff Lee goes back to the mound for the bottom of the 5th inning. Lee's allowed 4 hits. He hasn't walked a batter. What else is new? And he's struck out 6. And he's got 8, 9, and 1 in the order here in the 5th with Nikias, Dickey, and Tejada. And Nicky is trying to bunt his way on. It's a beautiful bunt, and Ruiz can just put it in his pocket. You couldn't roll it out there any better than Mike Nikias did, and he's got himself a bunt single.
Well, shades of Maury Wills here. Beautiful bunt. Right down the line and deadened it.
Dickey has 10 hits. He's got 9 sacrifices this year. Time for a little butcher boy action.
Maybe. I was just thinking about that, Gary, because Dickey does handle the bat well. You got Franson at third base playing in.
You butcher boy when the infield charges hard. Howard does not.
And Dickey fouling off the bunt attempt. One thing about facing Lee in this spot is you know he's going to be right around the plate if you want to do something unusual.
Well, the one thing you have to watch out from Cliff, though, because of his pitching intelligence, he'll elevate that fastball and try to get you to pop it up. And he's a tremendous, tremendous fielder.
Dickey pushes a nice bunt for Howard to field.
Oh, geez, what a terrible throw. Almost threw it away.
3-4 on the sacrifice.
You're going to hurt your second baseman. Look at him wind up.
Spike it. Watch when Nikias came up before he was laid down that bunt. Watch him. Comes in the box.
Oh, very sneaky, Mr. Nikias.
Take a little look at the third baseman. See
Two
where he's
looks.
going to play.
Oh, very covert.
Very interesting. Ruben Tejada 1 for 2 tonight. Singled back in the first inning. Nikias at second and 1 out. And Ruben takes a strike. Mets have gone 13 straight home games without scoring more than 3 runs. They'd settle for 2 right now to get Dickey even. Right back past Lee. Utley's got it behind the bag though, and he throws out Tejada for the second out.
I don't know about you guys, but I think Lee got some leather on this ball to slow it down just a bit.
Jammed him a little bit. He did. Ronnie, nice call.
Off the bat, you're thinking he might snag that line drive and turn a double play. Instead, Nikias winds up at third with 2 out. Second time the Mets have had a runner as far as third.
Now, Murphy, as you see, 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts, taking everything away and not looking good. Boy, if you don't look away, you're out of your mind.
Takes a cutter for a strike.
This is your perfect opportunity to get back at a pitcher. He's got you out one way the first 2 at bats. Now you got a man on base.
Fastball
and
in.
Go back into the well. That's a good call.
And Murphy floats one over shortstop beyond Lala's reach for a base hit. Nikias is in to score the first Met run. An RBI single for Daniel Murphy cuts the Phillies lead to 2-1.
Well, fastball in. You see the little pinky. That means fastball in. And up and in. A good pitch, but it might have been better to make it more up and in. And Murph always has that ability to inside out. And he has enough on it right there to drive it in.
So the Mets get their first hit in the last 2 days with runners in scoring position after being shut out yesterday by Willie Peralta, who looked awfully impressive. Mets have gone 13 innings without scoring a run before Murphy's hit.
60th RBI for Murph on the year.
David Wright with the tying run at first and 2 out. And David takes a cutter for a strike. Wright singled to left, grounded to third, 1 for 2.
He's been pounding David inside every chance that he's gotten. Tries to get it about waist high inside.
And the curveball in for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Nice hook.
Last 11 pitches from Cliff Lee have all been strikes. Now he's ahead on Wright, 0-2. Up and away. David has not hit a home run in September. August 24th was his last. Be a nice time to break that drought. Strike 3 called. Wright is caught looking on the fastball. That's 8 strikeouts now for Cliff Lee. Mets get on the board on Murphy's 2-out hit. It's 2-1 Phil.
Mets scratch across a run on the Daniel Murphy single. They trail the Phillies 2-1 as we start the sixth with Ryan Howard leading off. And Howard, guys have been talking about it tonight. He has been slumping big time. And Phillies manager Charlie Manuel today still really thinks that the Achilles is a big issue for him. Not that it's painful to him, but that he doesn't have the required strength to really be Ryan Howard. He said, I'm telling you, sometimes, I see him not even using his legs, not pushing forward. And even though Howard's a big guy, he's not a guy that generally overswings. He's a very technical hitter, and weight shift is very, very important for him. And there are just times I just don't see it. I think the offseason is going to be big. He's going to get a chance to really work it out, and get a lot stronger for next year. Let's go back up to the booth, guys.
Well, next year is going to be a year where they're going to watch him closely and just see if there's any lingering effects. It's a serious injury.
Got a lot of money invested in Ryan Howard.
And it doesn't look like he can drive off. It's his left Achilles, right, Gare?
Yeah, when he pushed off.
So that's the most important. You're driving off that back foot. And it doesn't look like he's generating a lot of momentum. He just blew it by him there.
Fastball upstairs.
7 strikeouts for Dickey.
This is where you always tell him to pitch. The conventional pitcher, pitch Howard. Just up in the strike zone, ties him up.
Well, the thing about that Achilles, remember, he ruptured it on that last play of the Phillies postseason run last year. But then he had a setback in spring training involving an infection. You have to wonder whether that caused, more instability in that Achilles long term, not just in terms of coming back and playing this year.
Well, the one thing that I think we tend to forget because of the big contract they gave to Jim Thome is that Ryan Howard's going to be 33 years old this winter. When I look at him, he feels like he's been up and he's 27 or 28 years old.
Yeah, he started late.
Yep.
And when they gave him that 5-year, $125 million deal carrying him through age 35, really raised the antenna. Popped up. Duda, as it twists over the shoulder, can't get it. It's a foul ball. Very difficult play for Duda.
Oh, that's ball so deep. It's should be an outfielder's play. But Harrison was way too much over into the gap, and nicely done by the ball boy there, getting out of the way. Excellent.
That is such a difficult place for anybody to make a catch with that low fence where the wall comes to an angle.
That's Anthony down the right field line, Keith, with the double flap.
Anthony's been an all-star this year.
1-2 from Dickey, and Ruiz down on the good knuckleball. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Dickey. That's 8 for the night. 2 out and nobody on. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with this game break. All right, Chris, now Nate Scherholz, who's 0 for 2 tonight, struck out and grounded out. And he flies one out to right field. Hairston easing over. And puts it away to end the inning. 1-2-3 go the Phillies in the 6th. First 1-2-3 of the night for Dickey. Still 2-1 Phils. insider info and exclusive interviews, plus heated debate on the latest New York sports news on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths. All part of the New York Sports Local, weekdays starting at 5 only on SNY. Scott Hairston leads off in the home 6 with the Mets down 2-1. In St. Pete tonight, Alex Cobb for Tampa Bay had a no-hitter going for 5 2/3. Tampa Bay was up 1-0 on Boston. And then Jacoby Ellsbury hit a 2-run homer. And now it's 2-1 Boston. Tampa Bay having their problems right now.
I was talking to Joe Madden yesterday, and he used this word that I haven't heard in baseball. He said their pitchers have been so good that it's sinful how they're hitting the baseball. Or not hitting the baseball.
There have been times this year when Cliff Lee could agree. 0-2 now to Hairston, who's into a fielder's choice and taking a call third strike. Huge game in the American League this afternoon. A makeup game between the White Sox and the Tigers, their last meeting of the year. And the White Sox came from 3 runs down to beat Detroit 5-4 and open up a 3-game lead in the AL Central.
And the winner takes all in that division. It doesn't look like the team that finishes second place is going to get into the wild card. It's do or die for them.
Yeah, the Tigers are now further behind in the wild card than in the division. They're 5 out in the wild card. But that was huge for the White Sox, who got 5 scoreless innings out of their bullpen today. And you can't say enough about the job Robin Ventura has done with that team. 9 strikeouts for Lee as he gets Hairston for the second time.
A little changeup, a lot of fastballs into Scott. Counters with a little changeup. This is a clinic by both pitchers. One conventional, one unconventional.
So 1 out. Here's Lucas Duda, who had drilled a double off the fence in right field his last time up. He has the Mets' only extra base hit tonight. Lucas had 3 extra base hits in the series in Milwaukee. So this last week has been a very encouraging one for Duda. Grounds this one for Utley to handle. And quickly Lee has the second out in the 6th. Let's take a drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. We mentioned the White Sox victory coming from behind to beat the Tigers 5-4. Dan Uggla's 3-run homer helped the Braves build a 6-0 lead. It's now 6-4 over the Marlins in the 6th. And Ellsbury with that 2-run homer breaking up Cobb's no-hit bid and putting Boston in front of Tampa Bay 2-1 in the 6th. Here's Jason Bay with 2 out and nobody on. Jason is struck out and flied out 0 for 2. Second straight Dickey start in which Bay has played left field. And Terry Collins was very open about saying that he put Bay into the lineup the last time Dickey pitched for his defense. Probably tonight as much for the fact that there's a lefty on the mound. But Bay has contributed defensively tonight. And that curveball had him swinging, and it's 0-2. 24 batters, 18 first pitch strikes. That's the norm for Lee.
Lee wasn't happy with that pitch.
Made a mistake. 0-2. What we were talking about before, the only pitcher maybe you would talk about making sure that he goes out of the strike zone. That one right down the middle. I watch Cliff Lee when he's at his best. Sometimes it's almost when you watch your kids play with the video games. The pitcher in the video game that never misses the strike zone.
Hardest pitch he's thrown all night at 94 miles an hour.
I curse you, Keith, for telling me that sound.
The dogs.
On the inside corner, Lee gets him looking, hitting over. That's 10 strikeouts for Cliff Lee, and he's got a 2-1 lead after 6.
Well, from this angle, I thought that pitch was in, but what do you think, Keith?
No, it's in. Just missed, but very close to take. And that's borderline, and it's a ball, but it's September.
Todd Titchener called it a strike, and Bay paused to discuss it with him. Frustrating times for Bay. Now 0 for his last 18. Dominic Brown 1 for 2, triple to right center his last time up, and he drives this one out to right field, chasing Hairston back near the wall, and it's out of here. Dominic Brown with his 4th home run of the year, and it's 3-1 Phillies. Second home run tonight off Dickey, and like the first one, it just cleared the wall beyond the reach of Hairston. So Brown with a triple and now a home run to put Dickey back in a 2-run hole.
This is not a bad pitch. Look at it, rushed him in, and he just came in. Look at him bring his hands in to get the barrel through. So sometimes you make a good pitch and they can hit it. You know, they're getting paid for a living too.
Oh, it took a sharp left turn on the way to home
Sure
plate.
did.
Fastball for a strike to Kevin Franzen. So a very similar outing to the one that Dickey had in his last start against the Nats. The difference in that one was he had a lead. Here, a couple of home runs have kept him behind.
This one just broke in right here, and he had to rush it in. Brown showed some bat speed there.
Well, the Phillies have been waiting for Dominic Brown. They've been waiting for a couple of years now. There's a good knuckleball by Dickey, and it's 2-2. Brown getting a chance to play now with the trade of Hunter Pence. That one takes a turn off the glove of Nickius.
Was it off the glove, or did it
I think.
hit him in the helmet?
Well, that's how the night began. With a strikeout pass ball to Rollins, the first batter of the game. Hooked to shortstop. Nice play by Tejada. Gets to his feet and throws him out. A ball that was behind Ruben Tejada, and he makes the play to get Franzen.
Well, nice play by Ruben. Pops out of his glove, recovers nicely. Strong throw. Well, he's been solid all year at shortstop.
No panic in that young man.
Very nice.
He knows it's hit hard enough. Just block it somehow, find it, and throw a BB to first.
So 1 out now, Cliff Lee, who's grounded to first and lined out to left 0 for 2. Dickey up over 100 pitches now, working here in the 7th inning. And so the Mets get the bullpen moving. Ramon Ramirez, Robert Carson both up. And a pop up into shallow center. And Andres Torres puts it away, 2 out. Was he trying to flip his sunglasses down?
He's putting his hat on. So you got too big a hat to get a haircut?
Two out, and now Jimmy Rollins, who hit his 21st home run of the year. His last time up, and that hard knuckleball is high for ball 1. John Mayberry Jr. on deck, and there's a fastball for a strike to Rollins, 1-1. Rollins has struck out twice tonight, but that first time he reached and scored on a pass ball. And another hard pitch, a knuckleball inside, and he held the swing in time, 2-1. Now the 2-2. In the dirt, 3-2. Well, Dickey had 109 pitches, and he's due a turn at bat in the bottom of the inning. So you have to figure this is going to be it for him, and his only chance to get a win is for the Mets to have a big inning in the bottom of the 7th.
Now, Ronnie, if you're a manager, if I'm managing,
here's ball 4 to Rollins.
Dickey, even though he's got he's got all winter to rest. He's throwing a knuckleball. If he's the third hitter next inning, if the first 2 hitters go down 1-2, I let him hit and give him a chance to get a win.
I would say as Dan Worthington comes out, if he gets through this next hitter, I would mention it as I go by the manager, hey, I'm good for another. That's all you can say.
Yep.
Because you don't want to say something that's going to, it's the manager's decision. But it's okay to go by the manager and say, hey, listen, I got one more in me.
Of course,
that gives them the option.
The other scenario at 3-1 is if the first 2 guys get on, you could leave them into bunt and go for the tie that way.
He's got the most sacrifice bunts of any of the pitchers on the team.
But then the other question is, if you push him to 125, 130 pitches tonight, does that affect his next start? When he might have a better chance to win? I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, here's the thing about Dickey and pitch counts. I think everybody's in uncharted territory with him because he throws his knuckleball so much harder than anybody else ever has.
Well, I think, you can't equate him to Wakefield or Wilbur Wood or any of those guys that kind of toss the butterfly up there, because that's not what he does.
Fly ball left field, chasing Bay back. He should have room. Right in front of the warning track, squeezes it to end the inning. But the Phillies add a run to their lead. Dominic Brown clearing the right field wall. His 4th home run of the year. Phillies' 2nd home run off Dickey tonight. 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field. 3-1 Philadelphia. Dickey coming in after that inning and stopping by Terry Collins.
It's interesting. We mentioned it before that you could have a little conversation with Terry. The one thing I did not see is that Terry said something to him first before he came down there, and it became a lengthy discussion. Of course, it probably dwells on our ace staying in this ball game.
So we'll see how the inning transpires. Andres Torres leads off in the home 7th. Ronnie Cedeno on deck to pinch hit for Nickius. A one-hopper to Franzen in 3rd. And Cliff Lee makes quick work of Andres Torres. 1 out. What's there to like about SNY on Facebook? A chance to win $1,000 plus do over the voiceovers on the SNY commercials featuring disgruntled sports memorabilia. It's the SNY voiceover do-over contest. Deadline September 21st. To enter, visit Facebook and like SNY today. Ronnie Cedeno batting for Mike Nickius. And Kelly Shopik on deck to bat for R.A. Dickey. So it would appear that Dickey is done after 7 innings. 3 runs, 2 earned on 5 hits. 2 walks, 1 intentional, 8 strikeouts. A good enough performance to win on a lot of nights, but not this one, not with Cliff Lee pitching the way he has tonight and the way he has for the last month. Ronnie mentioned at the outset his last 4 starts, Lee has a 3-0 record and a 0.99 ERA. So he's been right on top of his game coming down the stretch. Robert Carson getting ready. Cedeno takes the cutter just outside, 1-2. Lee with 10 strikeouts tonight, 4th time this year and the 22nd time in his career he has struck out 10 or more. Cedeno pops it up. Easy for Rollins. 2 out. And that's 6 in a row retired by Lee, who seems to be getting stronger as the game goes along. Now Kelly Shoppach will be the pinch hitter for Dickey. Almost a 3-to-1 strike to ball ratio. Again, standard operating procedure for Cliff Lee. R.A. Dickey's now worked 212 innings this year. That leads the league. He lowered his ERA tonight to 2.67. That leads the league. He struck out 8 tonight to get to 205. That's 1 behind Clayton Kershaw, who's currently inactive for the league lead. But he'll continue to trail Gio Gonzalez by 1 win in that category. Generally, ERA, strikeouts, and wins are thought of as the pitching triple crown. And he's 1 win shy of leading in all 3 categories, at least de facto. I say that because Kershaw does not appear to be ready to pitch anytime soon.
That's right. Kershaw and Strasburg shut down.
Kershaw could be back, and the Dodgers could certainly use him with Chad Billingsley and Ted Lilly already out of the rotation. The Dodgers losing last night to the Cardinals in 12 innings and falling a game behind St. Louis. 1-1 to Shoppach, and Kelly takes a big cut of the cutter, and it's 1-2.
We talked about Hairston before, Keith. Shoppach doesn't get cheated either.
He takes a big rip, and we've seen enough where he likes that ball more middle in.
8 home runs this year for Shoppach, who will stay in to catch after Nicky has left for a pinch hitter. Mets have out hit the Phillies 6-5, but the Phillies have homered twice and lead 3-1. And Shoppach takes it wide, 2-2.
Cutters away, cutters in, occasional curveball, change up to change the speed of the batter, and probably back inside. It's almost like he's got you on a tether, pulling you back and forth.
Shoppach takes one up the middle, and he's got a pinch hit. So a 2-out single for Shoppach, just the 7th Met hit.
Tries the back door. He stays in on this one.
Key for Shoppach always is the ball up. It's a waist up hitter. Rollins was playing at the pole, so pitcher's the only defense against that.
So now the tying run comes to bat. It's Ruben Tejada, who's 1 for 3 today. 6 for 13 now in his career against Lee. Lee had 94 pitches on a comfortable night. Plenty of gas in the tank as he throws the changeup outside to Tejada. Taking all the way, and now it's 2-0. Lee has not walked a batter tonight. He's had 2 3-ball counts all night. Murphy would be next. Tejada taking all the way. It's 2-1. Could have predicted that.
Well, don't take care. He's going to get a strike. He got Tejada out the last time with a fastball in, jammed him. Going away this time.
And it's 3-1. So only the third 3-ball count of the night for Lee. And a chance for Tejada now. No action in the bullpen for Charlie Manuel, with Lee at 98 pitches in the 7th inning. On 3-1, Tejada fouls back the fastball, and a good cut at that. 3-2. Lee about to throw his 100th pitch of the night. Shopik will be in motion as Howard plays behind him at first. 3-2 to Tejada. It's ball 4, and the Mets have the tying runs on base. First walk of the night for Cliff Lee, who averages 1.3 walks per 9 innings. And the Mets with an opportunity here in the 7th with Daniel Murphy coming up.
It was a great at-bat by Ruben Tejada.
I just don't think with putting the potential go-ahead run at the plate with Tejada up, who's not had one home run all year. Got to go after him. Can't walk him.
You know, Gary gave the numbers before. At some point, he was 6 for 11 off Cliff Lee. Cliff Lee's smart enough to know those numbers also.
Well, Murphy floated a single into left field to drive in the only Met run in the 5th. Home run here puts Dickey in front. David Wright is on deck. Jeremy Horst starting to get ready in the Philadelphia bullpen. Left-hander.
Why not? We've talked about our Cliff Lee all season long has had leads. Certainly not pitching like he's been pitching now, but has made that one bad pitch.
And he needs the outside corner. Murphy didn't think so.
I thought it was outside too. And you know what? When you're in a bat like this late in the ball game, 2-run game, runners on base, that first pitch is a big pitch, and that's not a strike. You're going to moan and groan. It's close. He's home plate umpire Todd Tishner has been giving that pitch to the pitcher all night.
Helps if you're Cliff Lee too. And he doesn't get that call, and now it's 1-1.
Ryan Howard guarding the line down at first base, but at third base, Franson is off the line.
Josh Lindblom, the right-hander, up now in the Phillies bullpen.
In my mind, Murph is more apt to hit the ball down the third base line off a left-hander than down the first base down the first base line.
2 on and 2 out. 1-1 to Murphy. Dribbled up the first base line, a foul ball, and it's 1-2.
Had one of those hits in Milwaukee, didn't he, where he sliced it down the third base line?
That was a squibber.
Yeah.
He got off the end of it, cued it.
He also hit a second deck home run to right field in Milwaukee on Friday night. I think he would opt for one of those right now.
What you're saying, if you're R.A. Dickey right now, one time. Come on, one time. Pick me up.
His only chance to win this game is right here. 1-2. Curveball pulled to Utley, and he picks it out of the air. Side retired. Mets strand a pair. Dickey will not get a win tonight. 3-1 Phillies as we go to the 8th. brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by Looper, in theaters September 28th. New battery in the game for the Mets. Kelly Shopik, who pinch hits, stays in behind the plate. And Robert Carson is on to pitch the 8th inning.
Well, you see his numbers equally effective against the right-handed and left-handed hitters. But if you're Robert Carson and you're pitching in front of your manager, these are a duo that if you think you're a big leaguer and belong up here with the Mets, this is a duo you're going to face many, many times.
Gordon's face Utley and Howard to start the 8th inning. So, R.A. Dickey hoping for at best a no decision tonight. And the bullpen could help him by keeping it as close as it is. Utley drove in the first Philadelphia run with a first inning sacrifice fly. Since then he's singled and struck out. Last outing for Carson was on Saturday night in that debacle in Milwaukee where the Mets used 8 pitchers. Carson was charged with a run in 2/3 of an inning. You watching that game, Ronnie?
On Saturday?
Yeah.
You guys are talking for a long time, weren't you?
Oh, jeez.
We didn't have you. We didn't have Kevin. It was just me and Keith. It was like that. Keith, remember that spring training game we did in Vero Beach back in 06?
Where 4 91 number 91s pitched in a row or something like that.
There were no commercials.
Weren't you guys cold too? It was freezing night, I think.
3.5 hours, 10 innings in Vero Beach. We were a lot more comfortable in Milwaukee. All the bratwurst we could eat. Fouled away by Utley, and it's 0-2.
I loved your line. How can you be less than 300 pounds eating in Milwaukee?
Here's your AT&T trivia question for tonight. R.A. Dickey, the 5th right-hand pitcher to reach 200 strikeouts for the Mets. Who are the other 4? Well, 2 come off the tip of your tongue pretty easily.
The other one comes off pretty easily, too, for me.
Yeah. Are you in that group?
No, I'm absolutely not in that group.
Well, there are 3. Yeah, there are 3 obvious ones, right?
Yeah.
Only one of them, I think, got there his rookie season.
Yes.
2-2 now to Chase Utley, with Ryan Howard waiting to follow.
The 4th one's tough.
Now the 2-2 from Carson, and Utley lines one into right field for a base hit. Second hit of the night for Utley, and it comes leading off in the 8th inning. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin is there with this game break. All right, Chris, now Ryan Howard bats with a runner aboard and nobody out. So a test for Carson here against Howard, who's 0 for 3. Struck out his last time up, and in the 3rd hit a long fly ball to left that Jason Bay ran down with a nice running grab. Mets have the infield shift on against Howard, and he takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. By the way, we were talking about the pitching triple crown: wins, strikeouts, ERA. Since 1956, when the Cy Young began, 13 pitchers have won the pitching triple crown, and every one of them has won the Cy Young.
Wow, that's good.
Including both Cy Young Award winners last year, Justin Verlander and Clayton Kershaw. They both won the pitching triple crown. Well, Dickey now leads in ERA. He's 1 strikeout behind Kershaw and 1 win behind Gio Gonzalez. And Utley almost broke too soon.
I always find it interesting with these extreme, there's Utley getting back, infield shifts, as we see on Howard right now, but the outfield, Torres is shaded around 10 feet to the opposite field.
Well, we've seen Howard, when he hits the ball in the air, he hits the ball a lot to left field.
He's already done it in this game with a fine catch by Jason Bay.
Of course, in Philadelphia, that ball that Bay caught, it's a home run.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. So he kind of rolls over the break and stuff, and if you fastball away, he'll hit it straight away or to left field.
Rounds that one to right, playing a shortstop position. So Tejada makes the turn for the 5-6-3 double play.
Say that again.
5-6-3.
Beautiful.
Don't see that too often. Off the end of the bat on a bad slider, he goes fishing, and Howard is really not running well. And he never was a blazing speed burner, but he looks like he's really just laboring. There's Tejada on the turn.
Well, Tejada's played some second base in his day, and he had to recall that on that nice turn.
It just looks like he's pulling up short, isn't he?
Yep.
On every stride.
Carson giving credit where credit is due. 2 out and nobody on. Now Carlos Ruiz is 1 for 3 tonight, and he takes up and away from Carson. So an interesting quote or an interesting fact about R.A. Dickey earlier today. You know, the Met bullpen had all sorts of troubles the first 4 months of the season, and yet Dickey never suffered a blown save at the hands of the Mets bullpen. And the question was asked, and Dickey even opined this, how much of that is the contrast between Dickey and the guys that follow him? Is the bullpen more successful on days that Dickey pitches? Is that legit?
Well, more legit is that Dickey got the ball to the bullpen later in the game. So it sets the, the bullpen has to come in and get, 6 outs tops, 4 or 5 outs occasionally. That's how you set up your bullpen.
But Keith, from a hitter's standpoint, if you've been watching a knuckleball for 6-7 innings, does it have an effect when you face the harder throwers later?
No, it's always like
probably happy.
We're always chanting in the war cry before knuckleballers. Let's get them out early so we can get some conventional pitchers out there. So no, Gary, it's a sigh of relief that you got rid of the guy. Let's face the guys we face day in, day out.
So you both reject that notion out of hand.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's what we're all about. Wright makes the long throw on a hop, and Duda picks it out nicely to get Ruiz and end the inning. Beautifully done at both ends. Duda playing first base and doing it well there on the nice pick. That gets Carson through the top of the 8th.
Any more questions?
This is to help Bergenfield Little League, the latest recipient of the SNY Play Ball Award. The grant helped pay for repairs to their field, which was damaged by recent storms. You can see more of their story and those of past recipients at sny.tv/playball. Cliff Lee has a 3-1 lead as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Lee at 104 pitches for the night. Faces the heart of the Mets batting order, Wright, Hairston, and Duda. David is 1 for 3 tonight, singled back in the first inning. Since then has grounded out and struck out. And takes the first pitch on the inside corner for a strike. Lee has walked 1. He struck out 10, allowed 1 run and 7 hits, looking for his 6th win of the year and his 4th in his last 5 starts. And he runs one inside to right, 1-1. Lee would love to be able to finish what he started, because if there's one thing that's bedeviled the Phillies this year, it's an inability to close games. The Phillies have lost 12 games this year. They've led after 7 innings, which is the most in the National League.
They've had 10 games where they have been 1 out away from getting out of the 8th inning and handing it off to Papelbon.
And you split those, imagine where they'd be.
Now the 1-2 from Lee, and Wright takes it a little low. 2-2.
Still throwing 93 miles an hour here in the 8th.
He's not tired.
No.
Felipe Almonte, the right-hander. Antonio Bastardo, the left-hander, in that Philadelphia bullpen. 2-2 to right, and David pops one up into right field. Shear holds over and puts it away, 1 out. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. Right-handers who struck out 200 for the Mets. Well, there's Seaver and Doc.
Coney. Gary Gentry.
Pedro, for crying out loud.
Sorry, Pedro. How soon we forget.
Pedro's okay. He's sitting under that banyan tree.
Talk about Triple Crown pitchers.
Right. Well, when he was with the Red Sox, that was every year, right? Josh Edgen up in the bullpen for the Mets. Hairston 0 for 3 tonight. Hit into a fielder's choice and struck out twice. He's got a couple of home runs in his career against Lee. And he pops this one up. And Franzen waiting for it to come down. Catches it in fair territory, and there are 2 out.
Mets can't win. If they decide to swing at the first pitch, they pop it up. If they decide to take the first pitch, it's a strike.
Too much Cliff Lee.
Yep.
Well, Lee at 110 pitches. He's thrown as many as 122 in a game this year, June 5th against the Dodgers.
Well, the way that they've gone and the numbers that you said, Gary, I'm sure that Cliff wants to finish this himself.
Well, if he can get it straight to Papelbon, that's a better formula for success than the guys in between. Here's Duda, who pops the first pitch up as well. And Franzen in foul territory catches this one as well. So on just 7 pitches, Lee gets the Mets 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 8th. 3-1 as we go to the 9th. Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Well, Cliff Lee coming off the field after the bottom of the 8th gets the handshakes from Rich Doobie and Charlie Manuel, so he's done, and Jonathan Papelbon will try and finish it for the Phils.
They'd have to walk down the other portal, I think. You know, you have the 2 entrances there. Stay away from Charlie.
That's too close a lead. Let me finish.
Josh Edgen will pitch the top of the 9th for New York.
Well, the young left-hander Carson got through the 8th, Edgen in the 9th, and Jonathan Papelbon up.
Which means that Valdespin is lying in wait.
That's right.
Only because Omir Santos isn't available. Nate Scherholtz leads off in the top of the 9th. Scherholtz 0 for 3. Struck out, grounded out, flied out. Scherholtz, Brown, and Franzen against Edgen in the 9th inning. And a fastball strike from Josh, who pitched yesterday in Milwaukee, faced one batter, walked Nori Aoki, and then was out of the game. Robert Carson pitched a scoreless 8th inning as the Mets show off both their young lefties here against the Phils. And Edgen quickly ahead 0-2.
That is one game that I'll always remember. Is that Omir Santos game at Fenway Park. I'll just, the look of Papelbon, they had to check it, right? To check
2 out in the 9th.
That's right.
Santos hit it just over the line on the Green Monster. That was the first year of replay, too. So, you know, it was an unaccustomed thing to going to the video replay.
And then something happened where Papelbon jumped off the bench, and Keith and I told him to go sit down.
Bottom of the 9th, Wright makes a low throw to second. Castillo makes an unbelievable play to stay on the bag at second, and Papelbon comes flying out of the dugout.
Right. Raging.
And I'm really disappointed. I can't remember, but the Mets had brought up a veteran shortstop who had struggled defensively, and he made an unbelievable play.
Ramon Martinez.
There you go. That's why we got you here, Gary.
It was certainly a memorable day for the Mets at Fenway.
I remember Joe West was the umpire that day, I believe. Why I remember that, I have no idea.
You know why you do? Because when they came out of the tunnel to signal on the Santos home run, he was the one who gave the home run.
He was behind the plate, I believe, that night, too. He was the crew chief.
May 23rd, 2009.
Oh.
Highlight of that year.
Oh, man.
And one of the highlights of this year for the Mets was the home run off Papelbon that Valdespin hit in Philadelphia.
Talking about ex-Mets that I think, well, I believe Mets fans still care about deeply. 4 for 4 last night for the Orioles.
Endy.
Yeah,
Endy has struggled, been hurt this year, but Endy Chavez 4 for 4, 2 RBIs for Baltimore.
Buck Showalter has got production from Endy Chavez, Nate McLouth.
Shallow left center. Bay is calling. Scherholtz retired, 1 out in the top of the 9th. Let's see what's coming up on WB Mason postgame live. Check in with the studio. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, guys. All right, guys. Now Dominic Brown, who's had a pretty big hand in this game with a triple and a home run against R.A. Dickey. Now facing Josh Edgen with 1 out in the top of the 9th. And he holds the swing on the pitch inside. In the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have Jason Bay, Andres Torres on the pitcher's spot, due up against Papelbon with plenty of left-handed bats on the bench. Davis, Valdespin, Baxter, all available. Foul ball. Nice effort by Duda, but it was foul all the way.
Almost got some chin music there. Sometimes you get your weight forward here and you can just bury your face into the ground. It happened.
And he was blowing bubbles as he went down, I think.
That's not good for the bubble gum. You do not need grass blades inside your bubble gum.
Lucas getting some ribbing from his teammates.
big tree fall hard.
And Brown ropes that one foul, and it's 1-2. R.A. Dickey went 7 innings, allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 5 hits, 2 walks, 1 intentional, 8 strikeouts. But the difference, the 2 solo home runs by Jimmy Rollins and Dominic Brown. Mike Davis getting ready to pinch hit. Swing and a miss, and Edgin takes care of Brown for the second out.
Breaking ball. Good slider.
So he's retired the 2 left-hand hitters. Edgin's work is done. Terry Collins will bring in a right-hander to face Kevin Franzen. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. 3-1 Phillies in the 9th. We'll be right back. Ramon Ramirez comes on to face Kevin Franzen with 2 out on the top of the 9th. Ramirez last pitched on Friday night when he gave up a run in Milwaukee, and Franzen fouls it back 1-1. Franzen 0 for 2 and an intentional walk. Terrific play by Tejada going to his left to throw him out his last time up. Ramirez trying to hold the fort here, get the last out of the top of the 9th, and give the Mets a chance to go after Papelbon in the bottom. Geico Sports Night, the only show that's only New York sports, tonight after the post game. Will Darrelle Rivas play next week? We'll talk with Rex Ryan, and Greg Schiano will try to explain why he knocks over quarterbacks in a kneel down situation. Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game. Shot back into fair territory to grab the pop-up, and the inning is over. No help was forthcoming.
No.
Kelly had to do the job himself. Papelbon coming in to try and save it in the bottom of the 9th.
The numbers, as you can see, 34 for 38 in the saves, but it's that 5-6 record that I'm sure Pap would like to have better. And we talked about those 12 games. If they had split those, it'd be a much different stretch run here for the Phillies.
Lee went 8 innings through 111 pitches, allowed a run on 7 hits, a walk and 10 strikeouts. Now, this is interesting because it looks like Terry Collins is going to use Valdespin and Baxter as pinch hitters. You're 2 runs behind. Valdespin's got 8 home runs this year, including one against Papelbon. But it appears he's going to use Valdespin first and Baxter second.
I would do it opposite for a couple of reasons. Valdespin has more power than Baxter. He's hit a home run off Papelbon, and even more importantly, how many times has Baxter led off for this team, right? And during the season, he's used to going up there and leading off.
So an interesting call here. Of course, you're also going to use a 3rd pinch hitter. Presumably that'll be Ike Davis batting for the pitcher. Valdespin is hitting for Bay. Baxter will hit for Torres, and then presumably Davis to hit for the pitcher. And then if anybody gets on, you got Kelly Shopping up 4th in the inning.
Now I know you got an all-star pitcher out there in Papelbon, but you've also got an all-star pitcher down there, your left-hander. If he goes 9 innings, the best bench for Terry right now is the left side.
That's right.
You keep Lee in the game. You negate the whole left-handed bench.
Valdespin, who homered against Papelbon for his first big league hit in Philadelphia to win a ball game for New York. Mets have beaten the Phillies 10 of 15 this year. R.A. Dickey on the short end tonight, in danger of getting his 2nd straight loss for the first time this year.
It's a reliever's game, Keith. If you get to the point where it's a save opportunity, you're out. Unless you have a ridiculously low pitch count. So
Well, Papelbon's been very good lately. Last 24 appearances, a 0.76 ERA. Tonight bidding for his 35th save of the year. And he gets that call on Valdespin, and it's 1-2. Now the 1-2 to Giordani, and he fouls away the fastball. Still a ball and 2 strikes.
Like a lot of closers in baseball, Papelbon, a creature of habit. He's got that same move, the tight lips, taking of the sign. The glove and the ball rested on the back hip, extremely closed. Fastball, slider, good split finger.
7th straight year of 30+ saves for Papelbon. Saved as many as 41 for the Red Sox. His first year in Philadelphia. And Valdespin pops one up. And in comes Franzen to get it in foul ground. That's the first out in the last of the 9th.
There you go. There's a corner infield for the guy that wants a pop-up.
And when they tried to throw it around the infield, they threw it into left field, but that doesn't count. Now Mike Baxter will bat for Andres Torres. If the Mets don't have a huge bottom of the 9th inning and score 3 runs, it'll be 14 straight home games without scoring more than 3 runs in a game. It's the 2nd longest such streak in the last 40 years. 2 years ago, the Seattle Mariners had 16 straight home games without scoring more than 3. But nobody else has come close in 40 years. And that's what Terry Collins has had to contend with. And the odd part about that, of course, is the Mets came out of their last homestand, went to Milwaukee, and scored 7 and 6 runs in the first 2 games. How do you explain that? You explain it tonight by saying they were facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, no matter what his numbers say. 0-2 now to Baxter. Ike Davis on deck to pinch hit. Well, the only way Davis can be the tying run is if Baxter gets aboard, and he's down to the count 0-2. Just missed with a splitter. 1-2.
It missed, but a good 0-2 pitch. Don't have to throw a strike.
Now Papelbon's 1-2. And Baxter pops it up. Dominic Brown circles in under it. And there are 2 out. So the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Cliff Lee in line for his 6th win of the year. Ike Davis, the last hope for New York. Ike went 0 for 4 yesterday in Milwaukee, but Saturday night had a huge night with a single, a double, and a 2-run homer. Mets leading home run hitter with 27 on the year, but just 7 in this ballpark, and that tells a big story. And Ike swings and misses at a first pitch fastball, 0-1. Kelly Shoppach would be next if Davis can keep the game going. Davis 1 for 3 against Papelbon. And Ike swings and misses at a high fastball. And now the Mets are down to their final strike.
Right by him. He's throwing hard.
Oh-2 from Papelbon. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. Papelbon notches the save for Cliff Lee. R.A. Dickey loses his 2nd straight start for the first time this season to fall to 18-6. And the Mets in their last 27 home games are now 4-23.
Well, just an inability to score. You didn't think that R.A. Dickey would have a tough time getting 20 just because of the Mets' inability to score. Cliff Lee was too tough tonight. Strikes. Had all of his best stuff, and now in his last 5 starts, 4-0.
Well, Dickey threw a good ball game, and Mets actually out hit Phillies 7-6, but it's all on a scoreboard. The 2 home runs, the difference.
Jimmy Rollins and Dominic Brown with home runs tonight for the Phillies after Dickey gave up an unearned run in the 1st inning, and that was enough to beat R.A. tonight. He keeps the ERA lead. He strikes out 8 to get within 1 of the strikeout lead, but he stays stuck at 18 wins with 3 starts left in his season as you look at the Kia game summary. Back in just a moment.